I know Brandon would love this. It's so pretty. I have my Bass Pro Shop Sweaty on 2, and then my Mossy Oak hat. I just love this. I thought it was so beautiful. Hi y'all, it's Kimberly here. Thanks for coming to my channel. Well, I'm just gonna talk about something that I'm struggling through is burnout. I'm so burned out. Burned out. I haven't crashed. I'm not quitting YouTube. I'm still struggling. Struggling to get to 1,000. And most of it is, well, I guess all of it's my fault. You know, I'm the one supposed to do the work. But it feels like YouTube just completely craps on the small creators, and they make it so difficult for some of us. And I know, you know, my channel is just a mess. It's not, there's no rhyme or reason to it, and my nose is kind of stopped up. I'm having like sinus. We have the most bizarre weather here where I live in the panhandle of Texas, lower panhandle. That, like today, it's beautiful. It's like, I don't know what it is, 60. It's going to be 70 or 80 degrees at least today. And it was like 30 something degrees last night. 33, not freezing, but 34, 30 something degrees. And then we have weather like that. It's hot, cold. And the other day we had winds so high. We had, I don't know how high they got, like 80, 90 miles an hour. And dust, really horrible dust. And it was knocking over 18-wheelers. They were just, I mean, flipping over one after the other. And big car pileups. You know, this happens almost every year. There's either in the area I live in or somewhere around close to where I live in. The dust storms here are phenomenal. They're like, sometimes you can't see 10 feet in front of you. Literally, you cannot see 10 feet in front of you. You can't see the car in front of you. You have to pull over, and thank goodness I have the highway memorized where I live, and I can usually find a spot to pull over in. So I think that's behind most of this, is the dust, because I do have a dust allergy, and it's been killing me. I've got a little bit of headache, and I suffer from migraines, and I had one a few days ago. I had one really bad, and I was late to work for like an hour. And I just want to talk about the burnout that creators have. And mind you, I'm not monetized. So I was pushing myself really hard a few years ago to get monetized, and I probably would have already been monetized if I had kept on that drive and that path. But it's just so, it's exhausting. It's physically and mentally exhausting. And I think about the time around when my nephew passed away. I started really having issues, and still having those issues. And my job, the hours of my job, I work a 4-day work week, which it's actually really good, but it's 10 hours to 40 hours a week. You get Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off, which I actually love that. I love that schedule, and I have an hour commute, but it's long hours. And the first day off, you feel exhausted, you feel tired, and that's usually Friday. And if I have to do things like go to the bank or pay bills or do anything, or, in business hours, if I have to talk to legal or do, anything that I need to do where there's an office, where they hold office hours, I have to do it on that Friday. So actually, I feel like I'm working like 5 days a week still. And the first 4 or 11-hour days, if you count, my commute. And then I have a lot of dogs. I come home as fast as I can, try to deal with them, take them out and feed, water, pay attention to them. And then I try to eat, do a few things, whatever little things I need to do around the house, or even if I can try to post a video. I may have a video. I have a video that I've had for like almost a week, I guess. I think I recorded it last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I've been so exhausted and tired. I had issues with my phone, and this crazy story. My phone was not charging, and I usually eat a burrito like on the weekend. I'll go one day a week to this truck stop and eat a breakfast burrito, a breakfast taco, and they're so good, and with hot sauce. And I was trying to charge they have a charging bar, and I usually sit there and charge my phone, eat my burrito. And I was trying to charge my phone up, and I plugged up the cord. I had 2 different cords. I tested it. Well, actually, on the way up there, I noticed it wasn't charging in the car. It got like 2% charge, and it's about 12-13 minutes to drive to this place. And usually I get, or I think maybe it only charged 1 or 2%, I guess. Usually I might get 3 or 4%, 5% by the time I get there. And it didn't. I thought, maybe I just didn't have it plugged in good enough. And so I went to the charging bar, and I brought in 2 cords. I usually have 1 cord in my car that I use, and I have an extra one in case somebody else needs to use it, or if the other one, if it breaks or something like that. And I buy these cheap little cords. They're like $5.99. I find them on sale sometimes for like $2.99, marked down $3.99. So I have like probably 5, 6, 7 of them hanging around the house, and put an extra one in the car. I always carry an extra one. And so I took them both in, and I checked, plugged them into the socket and everything. And I had 1 wall charger that I used, and it didn't seem like it was charging either. I didn't know if it's the cords or the socket. And I went to the car, and I got another socket. I charged that one up, or tried to charge it up with that one, and it wouldn't charge. So there was 2 sockets and 2 cords that I tried out. Didn't work in the car charger. I have like 2 or 3 car chargers. I keep a lot of stuff in my car. As you can see, it's a pigsty, and I need to clean it out. But if I went over a ramp, I could live in my car, honestly, for probably a good 2 weeks. There was a lady that she went over in a highway field or something, or landed in a field like in a slope sliding down, and nobody could see her car for a week. And this was it happened like 2 weeks ago. She lived in her car for a week. She couldn't get to her phone. She was trapped in her car until finally they saw her car, and they went over there to investigate, and they saw her in the car. She couldn't be seen from the road, but amazingly they saw, I guess because it didn't look like a junk car. It looked like, I guess, a car that maybe was wrecked, and they went to go check, and sure enough, there was somebody in it. So if that happened to me, I would be able to survive. But anyway, nothing would charge my phone. I sat at that charging bar actually for like 2.5 hours, and it charged like maybe, I don't even remember, like 25 or 30%. It should have been fully charged within an hour and a half at least. And so and it was Sunday morning. I think it was Sunday. Yeah, it was Sunday. And I was like, I hope my phone place is open. So I have Cricket, and I went to the nearest one I could find, or the one I usually go to. And I told him, the situation, and he plugged up my phone, and he was talking to me while he was going to check it with his cord, and plugged up the phone, and it charged like 2 or 3%. But I was talking, and I was saying I really wanted to get another phone, but I was telling him, it didn't work with the 2 cords, and then the 2 wall chargers, and the 2 car chargers. So I said, it must be the phone. It's got to be the phone. And he said, well, let's check and see. And then I was looking at phones, and then I just asked him, I said, do I have credit? And I have ended up having a $200 credit. So I was like, well, I'm just going to get a new phone. I can't be, or he asked me if I had a guarantee or warranty on my phone. And I do, but it was going to take like 2 or 3 days to get my phone by the time it would arrive, because it was Sunday, so he said it probably wouldn't arrive till Tuesday. And I was like, no, I'm so addicted to my phone. I can't. I gotta have one now. And I don't know what I did in all the decades before we had cell phones. I don't know how I survived it. But I'm so addicted to my phone. And he was like, I am too. Everybody is. It's, it's a national addiction. And I picked out a phone, and it was like a $300 phone. So I got a $200 credit. Paid $99 and some little fee for some reason. Got a brand new phone. Walked out to my car, plugged it in, because he had to transfer all my data and stuff. And so it wore it down to I think 25%. So I was going to charge it up in my car, plugged it in, and it was doing the same thing. The brand new phone was doing the same thing. It wasn't charging up. I was like, oh my God. Is it the cords or the charger? And I was so confused, and I was waiting. Target was across the street. So I went and I parked in the Target parking lot. Or actually, I waited there in the phone parking lot. I think I was there for 20 minutes seeing how much it would charge up, and it didn't charge but maybe 2%. So drove across to the Target parking lot and waited another 15 or 20 minutes. And I was switching out cords and chargers and everything, trying to make sure. And I think I sat there for by the time I did another 20 minutes, so it'd been almost 45 minutes in both parking lots, sitting there waiting for it to charge up. And it might have gotten 4 to 5%. I was like, oh my gosh. So I went into Target, and I was looking at cords and chargers, and they have I don't know, 10 or 15 different kind of each cord, each charger, everything, different brands and different voltage, wattage, and all amps and all of this stuff. And I just didn't really understand it very well. And so the guy, he was walking by, he saw me. I'd been there for about 10 minutes, and he asked me if I need help, and I explained the whole problem, and then he told me, he was explaining to me about the wattage, the voltage, and the amperage, which I used to work in electronics, and this was 35 years ago. I used to build computer boards, and, I forgot the measurements and the, capacity and stuff like that. You forget something if you don't do it for 3 decades or more, and it's sort of started to come back to me a little bit, but I was not aware that the thin cords, if you get a charging cord, get a thick one. And the reason I always get the ones I get is because they were cheap and they work. But I actually had a pretty decent wall charger, but the cord that I had was low wattage. Voltage, wattage, I don't know. Oh my God, he was explaining everything to me about the car chargers, the wall chargers, all the cords, everything. He spent 20 minutes with me, 10 or 15 minutes, and I didn't know it was such a, you really shouldn't use those thin, crappy cords. You should get one that has high, let me see. Okay, this one I bought, it says 60 watts on it. This one is, this cord right here. And this is one of those little flip out ones. This is my old wall unit, and it still works good. I think it's a 20 or 25 watt. I don't even know, I can't see because the print on here, it's actually printed on here, but it's so light, I can't even see it. And so I got this one. It's a 10-foot one. And then I got one for my car that is really thick. I don't know what the wattage on. I don't know if it has it on there. I don't know. And I think this one was $17. And the other one was $10. And he told me, quit buying those cheap, crappy cords. And I was like, yeah, okay. And he said it has to be thick because it's thicker wires and, to carry the charge and all that. And it's not worth, these thick cords last a lot longer than thin ones. And that's true because I go through them like crazy. And that's why I have like 5 or 6, because the 2 I had in the car, actually one of them was kind of broken. And that's why I thought that it was the phone, because the cord was like at the connection, it was like kind of broken. It was kind of floppy. And then the other one was real, getting close to it. I was like, it's fixing to break too. So I thought it was the quality of the cords. I mean, I knew it was, one of them was not working right. But I also, I don't know, I just jumped to the conclusion that it was the phone. And I just jumped to the conclusion that I want to buy a new phone because I had that credit in there. And I should have waited for that. I don't know if that guy's cord was a thicker cord or better cord in the store, or he was charging it up, but we only left it on there for like 10 minutes and I can't even remember what it only charged, like maybe 2%. I don't remember. But anyway, I bought a whole new phone. So lesson learned from that, check your cords, make sure they're top quality, thick, because as soon as I plugged this cord up in the car with my new phone, it charged like within an hour. It was like at 50% or more, probably more than that. It was like 60% probably, I don't know. And I was getting only like 10% charge per hour with those old cords. So there's that. And so I had this phone dilemma. My work, a lot of personal, family situations, death and family tragedies, other family stuff, and my dogs, and I bought a new car. I got a huge car payment now, which I didn't have with the truck, and I had just bought land, or no, I bought the land actually right after I bought the car, because of my housing situation, stressed about that, and I want a big, huge yard for my dogs, and I don't have one. I have a small yard. And then my puppy. I don't want to cry. My puppy that passed away, I was so upset about that. I couldn't sleep for almost a week, or like a little more than a week. And I have never had insomnia. I actually thought it was made up stuff. People can't sleep. I was like, I can fall asleep. When my head hits the pillow, within a minute, I am asleep. I've never had trouble sleeping ever. And I could not sleep. I mean, I was getting like maybe an hour of sleep. And I was groggy. I was worn out. I still feel a little bit drained from that. And mentally and emotionally drained from it, because, I rescue dogs, and I have a lot of dogs. I've had them all my life. I know a lot about them. And I don't know. The situation with that was just, try not to cry. But I was so exhausted at work from no sleep that I was in my car at break one day. Usually I stay in the break room, but I was just so physically exhausted. And I went out to the car, and I was just going to sit there and rest. I was not going to sleep. I fell asleep in like 30 seconds, I guess. I don't know. And I slept for like an hour. I woke up, and there's like a cotton field, a dirt field, or prairie dog field in front. There's a parking lot, chain link fence, there's prairie dog, a dirt field there. I woke up and I was like, for a second I didn't know where I was. I was like, where am I at? It took me a second to realize I was at work. I was on break. I was like, oh my God. And I thought, because it was the last break, which is at 4 o'clock. And so I fell asleep till 5 o'clock. We leave at 5:30. Nobody noticed. Nobody came and got me. I'm amazed nobody paid attention to that. And Well, I ran back inside, and I was physically exhausted from not getting any sleep. And I don't know, I was so stressed. I even looked up counseling because I've never been like a therapy kind of person, counseling. I've never gone to therapy, but I actually was looking up counseling uh, services for. Just did my makeup. Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. And I did find one, but I looked up their costs and everything, and I was like, I just couldn't afford it, and I didn't. I don't know. I just didn't do it because I don't know. I'm just not that I'm against it. I'm just, to me, it's so. It seems a little like I'm not a very trusting person, and to give information, about things like that, I barely give y'all any information about me on YouTube. I'm actually a super private person. I get very upset about people invading my privacy. And I was struggling really bad. Not getting any sleep. Thank goodness it's very slow at my job right now. And I don't know, I just struggle with that. So there was a lot of things that were weighing down on me. And just it burns you out. It really does. And trying to go on this journey with YouTube, because I'm going to retire in I want to retire in 2 years, but it's probably going to weasel out to like 3 or 4 years, and I'm trying to prepare to build. I have a raw acre of land. There's no electricity on it. There's no water, no septic, no lines, no nothing on it, no nothing. And I have to put all the improvements on it and build a house. It's for a new build only. And I have a lot of pressure on me for that. I don't have a time limit to do it, but I can't put a mobile home or a camper trailer on it. It has to be a new build. So I have a lot on me, and then YouTube and their stupid 1,000 subscriber, 4,000 watch hours. It's, if you're not consistent on it, if you're not, even if you take a break, in which I didn't continue uploading like the way I was years ago, but so much of this stuff started happening, and I just got backlogged, and so I haven't posted hardly any videos last year or this year compared to, I was there for a while. I was posting a video about every two to 3 days consistently, and it just so many things caught up with me, and I have huge plans all in my mind. I have this, all these things I want to do. And my relationship channel that I had announced, I did the video. It's like an hour long. It's actually going to be a podcast, but it's going to be on YouTube. But you get to see the video, but it's also, you can also get it on podcast. And I was watching this other bigger, he's a YouTuber, TikToker, and he had all this drama, and it was just all these relationship issues. And so I kind of used his drama to kind of springboard off of, and I wanted to go more in depth. Actually, the video I did wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, and I think I was so tired, so exhausted. So I don't know if I'm going to do it over. If I have to do it over, then I'm not going to do it today, because I'm so tired, and I'm got a lot I got to do. Laundry, I got to clean my car, clean my house, do all these things, pay attention to my dog, because it's Sunday. I want to spend some time with my dogs, and fix the fence because of the wind. I have a chain link fence with wood fence on the outside and knocked down some of the panels of the wooden fence, and I use those for privacy. I gotta put those back up, repair it. So I have all these things, and I know it sounds like I'm bitching and complaining, but I'm just like bringing that out into awareness about being a social media creator. It takes, I mean, it can be very taxing on you. I admire the people who are successful, the people who are driven, and the people who do this for a living. And it is, actually, I do have a video I want to make about social media. I might make it today, or I don't know. It's a more explanatory type of video I want to make about social media and it being a career, because a lot of people don't understand it still. Social media has been around for 2 decades or more, maybe a little over 2 decades, 3 decades. It's been around for a while, and starting with like things like MySpace, going all the way back to then, progressing into Facebook, and then YouTube started rolling, and now you got TikTok and all these other platforms. There's tons of social media platforms that start up every year, and most of them fail. But that's another video I'm contemplating making today. I don't know. But so the burnout, because I do want to do things on my channel I want to make videos about, my land, building my house, putting improvements, do, a whole series of videos about that. And I also like to cook. So I am going to implement cooking videos on this channel. My channel has had no direction, and it's just been, over yonder, all kinds of stuff. I report all kinds of things, but those were just, I really didn't have a clear idea when I started doing my YouTube videos. I just thought it would happen a lot faster than this, and me stopping making my videos consistently, yeah, I probably would have been monetized already by now. That's my fault. But things just, they pile up on you. And when I stopped making the videos, actually the last video, even though I was piggybacking off of a fairly well-known TikToker, YouTuber, it got like 4 or 5 views on that video. Mind-boggling, I don't get a whole lot of views. There's some videos I've done that have done really well, and the Texas accent video I did is the one that's carrying this channel. It honestly is. I wouldn't have half my subscribers if it hadn't been for that video that I made. Thank goodness I was born in Texas. I speak Texan, but I didn't want it to be just about I did get a few requests to continue making those kind of videos, but there's only so much. Yeah, I have an accent. We have the way we say different words, different things. There's only so many you can make on that. I really feel that that's just a niche that I just don't want to go down. But there are some more, I don't know, maybe Texas-centric things that I will do videos on. But I actually wanted to do some travel mukbang vlogging, going around to little eateries in Texas. Texas is huge, and there's so much food here. Texas has amazing food, and I love to eat. And there's so many restaurants that have, just all kinds of food here. We have amazing Mexican food. We have, country food. We have, all different kinds of soul food, everything. We have all kinds of food here in Texas. A lot of restaurants, tons of restaurants. And the city I grew up in is, right now, the population's around 250,000. It's got probably several hundred restaurants in that city. Maybe 1,000. I don't know how many. Probably 1,000. I don't know what I'm thinking, because the Mexican food restaurants alone are probably like at least 100 or more. And then top it off with all the chain restaurants and the family restaurants and the little dives and eateries and stuff like that. There's tons and tons of restaurants here. And I do want to do that, you know, the cooking and my land series and building my house and all that, which that would take, you know, it's going to be years, probably a couple, 1.5 to 2 years away, unless one of my little investments does really well. Then I can do it sooner, but right now it's just sitting there waiting. And then, oh, speaking of my land, there was some drama about my neighbors to the back. We are, you know, butted up against each other. Our lands are, there's just a property line. It's raw land. It doesn't have an alleyway. There is an easement in the contract for like utility, like there's an electrical pole at the very end of my land, and it's right outside of my, like, inches outside of my boundary. And there needs to be an easement on both sides in the event that they do make an alley later on. But I could put my fence all the way up to that telephone pole, but I have decided I don't want to do that, because if the electric company, if there's a power outage or, you know, lines fall, they'll just cut through your fence. They're not going to ask permission or anything. And I don't want to pay for a fence and have them, you know, cut through it or something. Plus, for me just moving on, I want to leave enough room so that they can do the wiring from the pole to my house anyway too. I need to leave that clear for them anyway. But I did have a dispute with the people behind me. They burned trash on my land. Is that not insane? And this is Texas. You don't trespass on people's property here. That is just a well-known thing here. I mean, people lose their lives for stuff like that here. And they burnt a patch in my land that was like probably 5 or 6 feet long, and like it's kind of rectangular. It was like probably 3 feet wide, full of burned trash. And it had like broken glass, beer cans, just burned up paper trash, any kind of trash. And then it had a bunch of metal machinery parts. Like there's these like kind of semicircular type of, I don't know if they were like some kind of saw things or something that went onto a piece of machinery. And there was like long pieces of metal, just all kinds of huge screws, bolts, nuts, everything, a bunch of mechanical stuff. And I go to my property about once a month just to check on it, to make sure that nobody's camping out on it or using it or destroying it. You know, a lot of people run across it with the 4x4s or, or dirt bikes or whatever. So I was checking on my land, and I had seen that they were, there's one person was driving across it with the, I guess, 4x4 from way to the side, kind of catty corner, when these houses way over across the way. Not the people behind me. I could tell it wasn't them, because it went directly to their road, and there's like 3 or 4 houses over there. So it's one of those people. They were trying to make a road, like a throughway through my land. And so I found the burn spot, the tire marks, and so I tried to cement I did cement the first 2 at the very front of land, which is paved road, and I own half of the paved road. My land, we own up to the middle of the paved road, all the way to the back to where the telephone pole is. Each lot, you own that part of the road. But that's an easement, in case they want to widen the road. It's just a small one. It doesn't have a strop in it or anything. It's just a one blacktop road. And you kind of have to scoot over to let the other person by if there's 2 cars going either way. but they will probably widen it later on. So there's an easement on both sides, and you need to put your fence back. It goes into like a little bar ditch, and then it comes up, and that's usually where you put your fence post. That's normal. And I found the two somebody kept taking the stakes out, and the first time I went out there, I noticed one in the back was down, so I put that one back up. The second time I went out there, both of them in the back were down, and one of them was broken in half, and then one in the front was kind of flopping, like they tried to break it. But I shoved that one back in the ground, and the other two, I tried to shove them back in the ground too. Went out there, I think, a third time, and the two back stakes were, one of them was gone. I couldn't find it. And the other one was like laying on the ground. Put it back in, and I was like, well, I need to put up cement post. And I think this was like a month ago. I went and I got an aluminum no trespassing sign, and then I couldn't find one on a post or anything, so I found these two little thin signs, and I couldn't figure out how to put it on there, but I found some glue. I glued the sign on there, and with strong industrial glue, and I put the sign up. It had the sign, and then it had two little posts, and I put them in the ground facing my neighbors, the ones that burnt the trash. And I had picked up some of that trash, the metal parts, and I threw it back into their land, because the next day I came out there after I saw that burn spot, because I came right after work. I came back out there. I actually when I first saw the burn spot that day, this guy came out he was in a mobile home. His back porch is towards the back end of my land. And I walked over to the boundary of where I thought it was, and I told him, do you know who did this? Did you see anybody do this? I was trying to get him to talk to me. And I just kept asking him that way, not trying to accuse him. And he just stood there and wouldn't say anything. And it was probably, it's like a good 3/4 of an acre away. I was at the very back of mine, and his is maybe about half an acre. His house is sitting in the middle of the acre. And he's standing on the back porch, just staring with his hands in his pocket, not saying nothing, just stared at me. And I asked him like 5 or 6 different ways, did he see somebody, or try not to accuse him. Then I said, did you do this? I just yelled at him, and still just stood there staring at me, didn't say anything to me. I was like, can I come over and talk to you about this? Stood there, wouldn't talk to me. And I was yelling this across, very loudly yelling it. And I know he heard me, because it was very quiet out there. It's very peaceful out there, no noise. You can hear people talking from half an acre away. And I know he heard me. And he just turned around, went back inside. And I was like really mad and upset. So I picked up those metal parts, and I threw them across the boundary into his yard. I assessed that it was him, because the next day, I came immediately after work, went back there, looked, and I noticed there was a burn patch across the boundary in his land that was like twice as big as it was it was probably like 12 feet long and like 3 or 4 feet wide. It was a huge burn patch. And there's tall grasses on my land that are almost up to my knee. I mean, it's kind of patchy. There's some yucca plants and little vegetation, like prairie range type of, it doesn't have grass. It didn't have like weeds. Well, it does have some weeds, but some tumbleweeds, but it's wintertime, so they're not growing like really big. But the thing is, those wild grasses, they still grow in wintertime, they've already grown, but they turn brown and dry in the winter, but they're still there, and there was a house, like, I think it's like an acre away. The acre next to me is vacant, but they're on the next acre, and it's a brand new build, and if it would have caught fire, it would have burned that house down. It would burn his neighbor's house down. It could have burned, well, when I first went out there to look at the land, they had mowed like a semicircle into my boundary, and the person showing me the land said, oh, they're not supposed to do that, you know. I was like, it looked like they were just turning their tractor around. Like they had mowed their yard and then they turned their tractor around. So I didn't have a problem with that. I was like, fine, they mowed down part of my weeds. I don't care. But then, like, after a couple months, I noticed when I went to go check for the fence posts, they had mowed a rectangular, like they were backing out their yard, like a good 10 or 15 feet into my land, past the boundary. Like they were setting up to, like, take that piece of land or put up a fence or something. I don't know what they were doing, because it was perfectly mowed out from the back of their land all the way in a straight. It wasn't like a semicircle like they turned a circle. It was like marked perfectly within their fence post, just further out, like a good 15 feet into my land. And so I ended up getting that no trespassing sign. And the very next day I had come out to look at it. This is before I found it was right after I found the burn patch. And I put that up, and they had mangled it and tore it down, broke one of the sticks, but I shoved it back in the land, in there, in the ground. It came out the next day, and it was actually, when they mangled it, they punched a hole through that aluminum sign. Had a big gouge, about a 4 or 5 inch gouge, just gouged through it, like somebody poked their hand through it. I mean, it wasn't a hand, it was some kind of metal or something. And the sign was gone. The fence, or not the fence, the posts were broken in half, tore off, and the sign was completely gone. The metal sign was gone. Couldn't find it anywhere. And so I'm having these issues with these people with my land, and that was stressing me out too. And so I cemented the front 2 stakes. I found out where they go into the land. I put about a third bag of cement and put these T-posts that are, I think they're like 4-foot T-posts. Put them in there to mark the front boundary. And then I was trying to find the back boundary because I forgot where they were. They ripped out my posts and everything, and it'd been going back and forth, and I couldn't find I wasn't out there every single day, so I really couldn't remember where the boundary was. And they had ripped out the posts from all the ones. I'm about almost in the middle of the block, and all the ones, there's like probably 5 or 6 acres down that were already marked, sectioned off and everything. And the posts, most of those posts were gone too, so I couldn't use there for reference. So I tried to use the fence from the people that built the house. They did not leave room for an easement. They built it all the way to the boundary, all the way. Which, if something happens, they're gonna tear through that. The electrical company is probably gonna, just cut that fence down. Especially if it's like electrical fire or something happens, some electrical thing happens. So I tried to measure it from there, but it was like a whole acre over. The wind's blowing. I couldn't get a good measurement on it. And I actually bought one of those measuring wheels where you have to measure it, but the wind here is so horrible, and I couldn't stretch it out. I couldn't get a straight measurement on it. So I ended up I met the neighbor next to him. I talked to him for like an hour. And his fence is fenced all the way up to, he left room for an easement, and he put his post is right on the boundary line of that neighbor. And so I just eyeballed it across from him, backed it out about 6 feet. I left about 6 or 7 feet of an easement. And with his easement, it's like 6 or 7 feet on that side. So it's pretty wide, pretty decent alleyway. So I marked it in cement on that side, but I didn't get to the other side. I haven't done that. Actually, I was going to do it this weekend, but the wind the day I wanted to go out there, which was Saturday, the wind was insane. It was like I was saying, like 80, 90 plus miles an hour. And there was, 18-wheelers being tipped over, people's roofs being ripped off, barns, metal barns, being ripped apart, stuff like that. Yeah, but that's the burnout, the things with the burnout that I've been going through right now. And before, before when I was making all the consistent videos, and now that I'm very sporadic, it's like I'm almost starting my channel over. So if you do this, if you are making consistent videos, then you stop and you don't post very often, your views are going to go way down. And I think I guess shadow banning or not, YouTube's not going to show your videos. It's like basically like starting over again. So, wow, this is a long video. It's like 45 minutes already. I didn't mean for this to drag out like this. So I'm going to end this video here. Thank you all for all who are hanging on. No, I'm not quitting, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try a little bit harder to post some more videos. But it's just the burnout of that, and it is, I don't know, just a stress, all the everyday stuff on top of trying to make videos. And people think it's so easy, so super easy. At first it is, because you have a lot of energy and you're excited about it, and you got all these subjects and things you want to do. And there were tons of videos that I wanted to make of other subjects, but I just, God, there's times when I was just so physically exhausted I couldn't. And with the recent puppy situation, oh my God, it was just, that video was super hard to make, and it drained me really, really bad. And okay, I don't want to get all sad again, but thank you all for coming to my video, my channel, and I don't know, I'll be here when I'll be here. Thank you.